Good evening, everyone. This is Tanya with Event Yours of Spirits here to bring you whiskey today. Okay? But is it whiskey with an E or whiskey with a Y? We'll find out today. So, just so you know, I'm the owner of Event Yours, which is an event planning and consulting small business. This is where I help clients bring their visions of their fun vision ideas to life. Okay? As stated, our spirit for the day that's being featured is whiskey, and we're talking about whiskey from the 5 different regions of the world. We're going to learn some historical and some fun facts while also enjoying the smells and tastes of these whiskeys, and we'll end the actual segment with a whiskey cocktail. See you when you return.
Perfect.
All right, so what is whiskey, you say? Whiskey with an E, whiskey with a Y. Are they both the same? Of course they are. It's a matter of where they come from, okay? However, the proper definition of an actual whiskey is a type of distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain mash, okay? There's various grains that can be used, of different varieties. Some of those grains include barley, corn, rye, and wheat. And whiskey is typically aged in wooden casks, okay? Even though there are some companies that have ventured out of that in addition to wooden casks, and made of char white oak. So that is the official, I would say, criteria for determining what is a whiskey and what is not. So just to go over a couple of terms, because as I speak throughout this segment, you will hear different terminologies, and I just want you to be able to follow. We're going to be talking about their proof. Proof is basically double of what the alcohol content is. So, for instance, in short, if a whiskey has alcohol by volume of a 40%, then their proof is 80%. If they have an alcoholic volume of 75%, then 75%, then their proof is what? 150%. Okay. Well, you may also hear the word peaty or peated, and it's basically the smoky flavor that is given by some of the whiskeys. And it's basically the actual compounds that are released by the purifiers used to dry the malted barley. Okay, so just so you'll know, and the length and intensity of that exposure pretty much gives the strength of the flavor, which is why you may hear some people refer to it as, oh, it's just the right amount of peat. Okay, so just so you'll know what they mean by that. And angel share. So angel share is basically as the whiskey is made, of course, while it is aging over time, there is a process where some of it may evaporate, and the part that evaporates is what they consider the angel share. I guess it evaporates up into the heavens. So angel share is just a term that the whiskey makers have given it. So whiskey with an E or whiskey with an Y, right? All right, so with that stated, how do you know the difference? Well, whiskey with an E, the best way to remember it is if the actual region has an E in the name, then it's with an E. If it does not, then their region is without an E. So, an example. The regions where whiskey come from can be Japan, Canada, Scotland, Ireland, United States. Australia is even on the map, but we don't have an Australian whiskey. I will plan to put that in one of my next whiskey segments at some point. But for right now, we're just going to stick with the main 5. And just know, for instance, whiskey without an E it would refer to Japan, Canada, or Scotland. All right, none of those regions have E's in the names of them. Then you have whiskey with an E. Easy to remember. United States has an E in their name. Ireland has an E in their name. Okay, so just to give you an idea, and of course Australia would end up being without an E. Okay, and as stated before, different regions produce different types of whiskey. So of course Scotland produces Scotch whiskey, Ireland Irish whiskey, United States is whiskey and bourbon. Okay, Canada has Canadian whiskey, Japan has Japanese whiskey, and Australia has just whiskey. Okay, there's different type of mixtures, and so as I go through each of these actual whiskeys, you'll notice me stating what type of mixture they are. Just know that the bulk of these are blended whiskeys, which basically means that they're blended with different types of whiskeys and ultra neutral grains in the spirit, meaning they have multiple grains and may even have multiple whiskeys within their actual making of this particular whiskey. Okay, if it's blended. But the other mixture types is Kentucky, Tennessee, small batch, sour mash, bottled and bond, rye, and blended. Okay, so today we'll be tasting Monkey Shoulder, okay, which is from Scotland. We have Bushmills, which is from Ireland. We'll have Crown Royal, which is from Canada. We have Nikka coffee from Japan, and we have Larceny from the United States. I will be tasting my whiskey out of a Glencairn glass. As you can see, it is specifically made to where all of the flavor and aromas will just funnel up to your nose through the lovely top there. It is a good right size glass. This actually holds about 5 to 6 ounces of actual liquor. I would say safely 4 to 5 ounces. 6 ounces will probably take it directly to the top. But just so you'll know, I will have another video in reference to the different type of glasses to drink certain libations out of. But just remember, my motto, don't let anyone tell you how to drink what you drink when you drink. Okay? Drink it the way you want it. Straight, neat, on ice, chilled, mixed, not mixed, room temperature, boiled, cold, all up to you. Okay? So, drink it the way you want to drink it. But we're going to start off with Monkey Shoulder. So, as I'm pouring my portion of Monkey Shoulder, let's talk about it. So, Monkey Shoulder is a Scotch whiskey, okay? It is a Scotch. It is a blended malt Scotch, okay? It is 86 proof, which means it's pretty strong, but not too much than your average, alcohol levels. It was actually established not that long ago. It was 2003. It was 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. Well, actually, no. Now we're in 2023, 20 years ago. The parent company is Beam Suntory, and the reason why I'm naming the parent companies is to give you an idea of who has their hand in what. Because throughout the whiskey history, you'll notice some of the names keep coming up for different reasons, and you'd be surprised that some parent companies have their hands in a lot of whiskeys and or bourbons that you all drink. One of the fun facts about Monkey Shoulder is it was born of one of the oldest 1887 whiskey making Scottish families in the world, William Grant and Sons, and so whiskey was named after the type of shoulder strain. So you see this here, Monkey Shoulder, there are monkeys here. And the reason why they call it Monkey Shoulder is because that was the type of injury that the workers would get from turning the malted barley. So, they sort of scoop it up and flip it, scoop it up and flip it. So those type of employees would then get a strain on their shoulder, which would make one arm longer than the other one. And so I don't know why, but the company felt the need to emphasize that on the name of their actual branding. So just so you'll know, that's where that strange name of monkey shoulder comes from. So let's go ahead and smell it and taste it and see, is it all as cracked up to date? Okay. Again, you smell with your nose, with your mouth closed, and another time open. You'll notice that you'll get a lot more flavors a lot more aromas if you keep your mouth open. I smell little caramel, very spicy, I would say. Vanilla, like a spiced oak. I smell oak, but it's not a regular oak, like when I would taste a cognac or something. This is more of a spiced oak. Let's taste it. Remember, the first one, you want to let it run all over your tongue before you swallow it and or spit it out. It's up to you. There are actually people who don't drink spirits, but they love to taste it. And they will put it in their mouth, swoosh it around, and then spit it out. They just want to taste it. It's such a waste, but okay. Let's see. It's smooth going in, smooth going down, just the right amount of peat. It's a little smoky, the smoky flavor. Vanilla, I do taste. But I also taste, and I have nothing wrong with monkey shoulder. I love monkey shoulders. You can see I bought the big bottle. I used to buy the bottle that was like this size. It's just a little fatter. But I love monkey shoulder. It's a very good, just pour yourself just about 2 ounces, sit down and just relax and think about the day. I taste like towards the end, after I swallow it and my tongue is enveloped in the flavor, I have almost like an aftertaste of, and let me know if you taste it. Let me know if you taste it too. I tasted a Matchbox. Not that I've licked a Matchbox before. I'm just saying. But the actual taste of what I think it would taste like. It tastes like sulfur, if it makes any sense. But it was just for a minute. It was almost like that transition after you swallow it, you still taste the flavor. So it does have a long finish, okay, which means the taste lingers in your mouth after you swallow it. Then it sort of changed to like a sulfur taste and then back. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm just letting you know what I taste and what I smell. And that's another thing. Don't let anyone tell you what you taste when you taste your liquor and what you smell when you smell your liquor. Everyone's senses are different, okay? All right, so a few historical facts while I'm pouring Bushmills, which is the Irish whiskey, which we'll be talking about next. So back in 500 to 1000 AD, whiskey was originally used as medicine, okay? It was used as an internal anesthetic and an external antibiotic. So, sometimes when people get hurt and they have an open wound, someone grab a liquor, and it's not just, it's not just whiskey. I mean, vodka will do it. I mean, hey, when COVID hit, every vodka company was trying to make hand sanitizer. Anyway, anything with alcohol in it can be used as an external antibiotic. So just so you know, it's not just whiskey, okay? They also use it for illnesses, such as colic, palsy, and smallpox. I am curious to see what those white papers have to say about it being used for palsy and smallpox. Okay, so between 1000 and 1200 AD, which is when the origin of whiskey began, over about 1,000 years ago. That's basically really when the actual distillation process began, and it actually migrated from the mainland of Europe to Ireland and Scotland, and guess by who? By the monks. So I'm just wondering why the monks was even involved in a distillation process in the beginning. But that's something that I need to do a little more research on in terms of why they were the ones involved with it. I'm pretty sure that would be an interesting story. I'll look it up and I'll share it with you all during another segment of whiskey. Okay. Ireland, believe it or not, was the first to have written documentation of whiskey distillation. Now, just remember, keyword is written documentation. Written documentation does not mean that they were the first. It just means that they were the first to have written documentation of it. As we all know how patents go. You can have someone else have the idea, but if someone else has the money, the influence, and the time, and the resources to get it patented first, who owns it first? Okay, there you go. For instance, let's talk about, real quick, example, Thomas Edison. He's known for what? The lights, right? All in the history books, the lights. No one talks about, well, what about the person who made the fuse? Just saying, you can't have light without the fuse. But because the person who made the fuse couldn't get the patent, hey, Thomas Edison got everything. I'm just saying, those are facts, okay? It is what it is, okay? Scotland followed right behind Ireland in terms of the whiskey distillation and the whiskey movement. And then in the 1600s, it was introduced to our lovely United States of America. So let's go into our Bushmills, okay? So this is an Irish whiskey. It is a single malt Irish whiskey, okay, which means that it only has made of one type of grain, okay? That's what that means. And it is 80 proof. It smells so good. And it was established in 1784. The parent company is Casa Cuervo. So yes, Cuervo, keep that in mind, because yes, it is the name of exactly just what you think. This smells so good. I'm sorry, it just smells so good. A fun fact about Bushmills is that Diego, who loved to own a lot of spirit businesses, he actually bought Bushmill Distillery in 2005. So bought it fairly recently, 18 years ago, just to trade the brand in 9 years later to Jose, trade the brand with Jose Cuervo, exactly, the tequila brand, Jose Cuervo. Where's my Jose at? Did I drink on him? Do you all see it? I think I think all the Jose Cuervo's gone. Okay. Always gotta keep a Jose up here. Not everybody knows their tequila. I got to have the Jose up here. But it's okay. I got El Jimador. That's a good house brand. And he traded the brand with Jose Cuervo in exchange for 50% of the Don Julio tequila brand. Okay? So he traded the whiskey brand with Jose Cuervo in exchange for 50% of Don Julio. So, you know, Diego has had his, not Diego, Diageo, because there is an E after the G. He has his hands in a lot of things, and this is just 5 whiskeys. I've done tastings, you know, and I can name numerous other whiskeys that Diageo has actually had his hands in. So just so you know, that's the man to watch. But let's go ahead and smell and taste Bushmills. The nose on this is very smooth. It's like usually when you smell most alcohols, you smell the burn. No burn with this. I smell a lot of vanilla. A lot of vanilla. Just a hint to me of caramel, but I also smell, I can't describe it. I want to say peach, but it's not peach. Apricot, maybe? That's what I'm smelling. But anyway, let's see what it tastes like. It goes in smooth, goes down with a little bite to it. Don't know why, but it does. It's a long finish, so I'm still tasting. And I taste vanilla. A lot of smoke, a lot of spice. Yeah. Okay. Not sure if you all are tasting with me, but if you have any comments about anything that we're tasting, please feel free to put the comments below, like, and subscribe. So while I'm pouring the Crown Royal, which is what we're talking about next, let's talk about some historical facts. Okay. So we just tasted this one. So Old Bushmills distillery in North Ireland is the oldest licensed whiskey distillery in the world. 1608. Okay. Mind you, keyword again, is the oldest licensed whiskey distillery in the world. Okay. So if some of you on this channel are saying, no, I know of a distillery that was there before 1608, that is fine. They may not have been licensed, but keyword is licensed. Always remember that. Whoever has the papers, that's what it is. Okay. In 1783, just know that Evan Williams was actually the first commercial distillery founded in Louisville, Kentucky. So Evan Williams, you know, when I think of Evan Williams, I think of the eggnog. You know, the eggnog that you can't seem to find during Christmas because everybody bought it up. I don't know what it is about the Evan Williams eggnog, but it is just right. You don't need to add a thing. Whether you drink whiskey or you don't drink whiskey, no one's adding anything to Evan Williams unless you just really have a problem. It is perfect. It tastes so good, and it is ready-made. You know, my husband likes to get it, put it in the refrigerator, and leave it there, and he just drinks it chilled during the holidays. So, just so you know, Evan Williams is your first commercial distillery, meaning it was the first to start selling. Okay, 1820, Johnny Walker. So let's talk about Johnny Walker just a little bit. So Johnny Walker, I'm sure everybody knows Johnny Walker. No, it's not on this segment, but we do have it. I have the Gold Reserve. I need to go and get the Johnny Walker Blue. I heard it was actually at Costco's, locked up somewhere, but Costco's has it. I still need to make a trip out there to go get some. I have yet to taste the blue Johnny Walker. I've tasted the red, I've tasted the green, I've tasted the gold, I've tasted the black. I have not tasted the blue. I need to taste the blue. But just so you know, back in 1820, Johnny Walker was just a Scottish grocery guy. Okay? He was a grocery guy, and all of a sudden, he became one of the famous worldwide distributed brands of Scotch whiskey in the world. Once he started selling the whiskey, it just went crazy. Okay, so he used to be a grocery store owner. So big up to Johnny Walker. So he had humble beginnings, but he ended up on top with everything. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Okay, sometimes you got to know people's story. Some people only see people's glory, but they don't know the story. They don't know where they came from. So let's talk about Grand Royale. So Grand Royale, of course, yes, the royal family had involvement in this. Okay, it was actually the Prince of Wales. You know, the Prince of Wales loves Crown Royale. The Queen loved Crown Royale, and their whole thing was it was made specifically for them, which is why it has Crown Royale on there. Okay, it did hold the actual labeling of being one of the royal items, meaning this is one of the actual whiskeys that they have over in the castle. Okay, it is a Canadian whiskey. Okay, it's a blended Canadian whiskey. The proof is 80%. It was established in 1939. It is the top selling Canadian whiskey in the United States. This is the only Canadian whiskey I've ever tasted. I am so curious about exploring into other Canadian whiskeys and taste those. So if you know of any other Canadian whiskeys, please put them down in the comment section so I can see about adding it to my collection and maybe making a segment on those. And do know that, you know, these bags that they come in. So the purple bag is what all Crown Royales come in, depending on what flavor you have. The original is the purple bag, okay? The purple bag, believe it or not, Purple Bag Project was to support the troops during war as bags for care packages. So they would use these bags to put care stuff in there, whether it was, you know, whatever the troops would need, and then, you know, they close it up as a satchel and then they'll send it off. Okay, so just so you know, there is a meaning to this bag instead of it just being a bag. Now, I know that most of us use these bags for all kinds of things. Okay, just to be clear, I use a bag to keep all of my, you know, every month I subscribe to Amazon for my plugins. Okay, and my plugins, I make sure that they're replaced every 30 days because that's how long they last. Yeah, they usually last about 25, 26 days. So by the time the other ones get here, the ones currently plugged in are empty. But it's to keep the house fresh. And whenever I get them in, I take them out of the box because I don't like corrugated boxes in the house. I know it's not like an operating room. It's not like I'm gonna have patients here, but I just don't like the idea of the fact that there might be little roach eggs or something, or insect eggs inside the little holes in the boxes, and it's just sitting around my house, and then they're just gonna show up somewhere. So I don't do roaches. That was back in New York. That was expected. But here, yeah, I expect an ant, I expect a spider, but I don't expect a roach. It's too hot for roaches. I'm sorry. So therefore, anyway, I use these bags to put all of the plugins from the order, so the next month when it's ready to use them, they're all here. And I put them in here and I put them over in my linen closet. So then that way I just carry the bag around and replace the plugins. But anyway, I also use it to put my bar accessories in, like if I'm going to someone's house and I'm gonna be fixing drinks. So I may put, you know, like my jigger in here, my stir in here, a couple of other items that is needed to make the drinks, all kinds of stuff. So tell me what you use the Crown Royale bag for in the comment section. I'm curious to know what you all use it for. But just as everyone knows, Crown Royale has a couple of other flavors. Believe it or not, I am just tasting the regular Crown Royale just a few months ago. Believe it or not. Every Crown Royale I have tasted was because someone had the flavored ones. So my husband loves the flavored ones. Of course, he has salted caramel, he has apple, and then he has peach, and I think there's another one called maple, French oak, winter wheat, and they also have a black and an XO. So I'm curious to try the black and try the XO and the rye and see what those taste like. So I think I do those, but yeah, see, I have the peach one is right here, it's orange, so the peach bag. So just so you know, there's a lot of different flavors. So Canadian whiskey is usually sweet, so you're going to be very high on the caramel and the vanilla taste heavily, and a little less on the spiced oak. Yep, all I smell is the sweetness. I smell some spicy oak, but it's very small, so let's taste. It's smooth going in, smooth going down. It doesn't burn. It doesn't burn, I promise you. It's very flavorful, which is probably why a lot of people, they drink it straight, but then you also see them mix it. Now, little trick, just so you know. So, I like to buy Baileys sometimes because my husband is he likes drinks that are very milky, if you will. You know, he's a Kahlua cream, you know, Black Russian type of dude. So therefore I did an experiment, and I actually had not just apple, but I had a salted caramel one too, because Baileys have all different types of flavors. They have different type of flavors, and I would match it up with the Crown Royale. So I would match the apple with the apple pie. He loved it. I would match the peach with the regular Baileys, and they also have a peach Baileys. Okay? And they also, which I don't have any more of because he drank it all, but they also have a salted caramel Baileys, and I mixed it with the salted caramel Crown. So it's 50-50. So 50% of the Crown Royale and 50% of the Baileys. Just try it. You might like it. Try it. You might like it. When I drink Crown, I usually mix it with either one of the Baileys or like Coke or something like Coke or Pepsi. I actually prefer Pepsi because Pepsi is a little more sweet than Coke, so it actually complements the Crown Royale more. Okay? All right. Let's go to, while I'm pouring the Japanese whiskey, Nikka, let's talk about a couple of fun facts about about whiskey. And I want you to tell me in the comments if you believe them or not. Like I said, these are actual facts, you all. Okay? I didn't make up this. Okay, but I just didn't read it to the point where I looked at the, you know, the actual documentation, the peer-reviewed document to state how with some of this stuff, but just to give an idea. So this particular fun fact puzzled me because I'm thinking, who in their mind was thinking about it? You know, like, who's thinking about, who's actually thinking about this stuff? So it was stated that diabetes urine, so people with diabetes, their urine can be transformed into whiskey due to high sugar content. Please tell me, who was laying in bed thinking about that? Who was at the office thinking about that? Who was in the lab thinking about that? Well, you know, diabetes have some sugary pee. So, you know what? Maybe we can turn it into some alcohol. I just don't see it, everyone. But these are some facts that's been put out there. So you just let me know how you feel about that. 1 million bottles are exported from Scotland every year. Okay. In the Guinness World Book of Records, Glenavon Special Liqueur, okay, is the world's oldest whiskey. So Glenavon, so I know there's a lot of other whiskeys. You know, you have Macallan, you have Glencairn, and you also have Glenavon. And so Glenavon is the oldest whiskey in the Guinness World Book of Records. So I guess you can look that up to confirm that I'm not, BSing you or whatever. Macallan's, however, is the most expensive whiskey in the world. It doesn't mean it doesn't have lower priced whiskey. It just means that when you start to get up in price, Macallan holds, the record for having the most expensive whiskey in the world. Okay. There's also another Guinness World Book of Records for whiskey, and it is actually a place. So in San Diego at the Whiskey House, they have over 3,000 different whiskeys to choose from. 3,000. Can you imagine that? I'm wondering how big that place is. I'm ready to jump on the plane to go to San Diego just to go to the Whiskey House to see these 3,000 bottles and see what they have. I would love, I know I can't taste them all. I probably couldn't even taste 1% of them, but at least look and see what other different types, because I'm thinking 3,000 different ones. There has to be some sort of unique ones in there that's good to try. But and also July 27th, everyone, is officially Scotch Whiskey Day. Scotch Whiskey Day. So yes, Ireland gets their St. Paddy's Day, July 27th. All you Leos, Scotch Whiskey Day. Okay? All the Leos have a Scotch Whiskey Day. July 27th, mark your calendars. As a matter of fact, I might do a Scotch Whiskey segment on July 27th, just in reference to that, or maybe do a Litten Live since it's everybody celebrating it. I'm gonna make my friends celebrate it. I'm gonna make some people celebrate it. We're gonna do a July 27th Scotch Whiskey Litten Live, okay? And just so you know, Kentucky is actually is the home of more barrels maturing bourbon than people. Just so you know, there's more bourbon barrels, okay, maturing in Kentucky than there are people in Kentucky. Just so you know, okay. All right. So this is a couple of fun facts. So let's talk about the Nikka, okay. So Nikka coffee grain whiskey is a Japanese whiskey. It is 90 proof. Okay. It is okay. The reason I drunk it like that is because I smelled it and I said, "Ooh, I need to drink it," because the smell was just too good. But the taste is totally different than what you smell. So just be mindful of that. But it was established in 1940 by Masaka Takasuru. Okay. And the parent company is Asahi Group Holdings. Okay. So as you know, it's a bunch of conglomerates that actually own that, and they have different segments of Japanese whiskey. The distillery is called Nikka Distillery, as usual, and there's different distilleries in Japan, and they actually have different types of Japanese whiskey, but Nikka Distillery is the prominent one. The founder of the distillery, they actually traveled to Scotland to learn how to do distillation, how to make whiskey, okay? And they took that knowledge back to Japan and created the first real malt whiskey, okay? The company also does gin and vodka, just so you'll know. So if you was to look up Nikka Distillery, you'll notice that they don't just do whiskey, they also do gin and they also do vodka. So let's go ahead and smell and taste the Nikka. The nose is smooth. Very spicy. The smell, the smell tells me, to me, because it's so calm, that I'm thinking when I taste it, it's going to be calm as well. Let's taste it. Again. Woo. Nikka's a little strong for me, strong for my taste. It has a flavor. Like I taste a lot of vanilla. I taste caramel, but I also taste leather. You know, like a leather taste. But I can tell you, I don't know what it is, and I guess because the proof is higher, I didn't think that it would make that much difference with a 46% alcohol volume. But this isn't something I would drink, you know, just straight. You know, if I did, I would definitely, now do know that water can dilute it down a little bit to make it better. Let's see what that tastes like. Let me add a little water. And water sometimes will, if you just put just a little water in it, it will normally sometimes bring out a lot more flavor to the actual whiskey, because that way you're not really having to deal with the alcohol level. So now see, when I smell it, it gives me a high, like I smelled it before, but now that's all I smell. It's not the burn in my nose. Oh yeah. See, when you add the water to it. So if you ever get a whiskey or any alcohol that has the alcohol itself is sort of like uncomfortable for you, just add about 2 or 3 drops of water in it, or maybe just put like a very small cube of ice in it, let it dilute a little bit. Trust me, it makes a big difference. It went down smooth. And I only did, like, I had water over here. I probably put maybe like a splash of water. And it's all flavor and less alcohol strength. So just a note for that. All right, so we finished with the Japanese whiskey. Let's try the Larceny. So as I pour the Larceny, let's talk about Larceny. So Larceny is a United States whiskey, of course. It's a Kentucky bourbon. It is 92% proof. 92 proof, not 92%, but the proof is 92. And it was established originally in 1870. And then again in 2012, just so you'll understand how that goes, because sometimes it'll change ownership. But the parent company is Heaven Hill, and I actually have another whiskey by Heaven Hill. It is bottled in bond, and under government supervision, basically meaning, I guess it's official, since the government actually you have to excuse that. They must have just walked in the house and now the alarm just interrupted my recording, but please forgive me. That happens. But Heaven Hill Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey is also another good whiskey to try, just so you'll know. So a couple of fun facts before we smell and taste the Larceny. So it was actually, this actual brand, this name was actually inspired by a thief named John E. Fitzgerald, and as you can see on the actual bottle, his signature is there. They actually imprinted his signature. And he was actually a thief. He used to go into the brick houses and actually cipher the actual bourbon from out of the actual barrels. He was actually an agent for the U.S. Treasury Department here, the IRS. Okay, exactly. That just goes to show who the real criminals are. But basically, the label was inspired by that thief, who was actually legally allowed, to carry the keys to the barrel storage brick houses. Just so you'll know. Okay, so it's almost like giving someone the keys to your house and then they go and they rob you. Same thing. Okay, but because of that, it actually inspired the brand Larceny. Of course, Larceny, right? Bourbon, and actually Larceny they actually have other types of whiskey. and the proof ranges from 92 to all the way up to 122 proof. So if you see any other Larceny's, please try it. I'm also looking for some others, but I just thought that was so interesting with the key. You know, the key, you trust somebody and they come in and then they drink it. They're just taking everything that you have. So just a thought, but let's smell this. Larceny to me is like the ideal bourbon. Bourbon to me is a little different than just a whiskey. It's a lot of smoke, it's a lot of spice, it's vanilla, it's caramel. It's just a hint of sweet where you can just drink this straight. As is, no nothing. I wouldn't mix it with anything, but like I said, don't let anyone tell you how to drink. Larceny just goes down so smooth. It coats your tongue, and it's a long finish, which means that the flavor is still there. Okay, and the flavor is consistent. It's not changing. For me, it isn't. It may change for you, but this is delicious. This is good. All right, so we've tasted 5 whiskeys from 5 different regions. I hope you enjoyed all 5 of these. Hopefully, if it's something that you haven't tried, you'll go out and try it, or maybe even some of their sister brands. Go try those. But of course, we can't end the evening without a cocktail. Okay, and so just want to let you know today the cocktail will not be made by any of these, so I'm going to move these out the way. Okay. It's going to be, today the cocktail is a Manhattan. Okay. For all of my whiskey and bourbon drinkers, you know, yes, I know that a Manhattan should be made with rye whiskey. However, even though I have a rye whiskey, my actual, you know, my rye whiskey is a Georgia-made rye whiskey. All of my other rye whiskeys are gone. I usually have a Bullet, but my go-to is usually Knob Creek. However, I don't have that, but usually, regardless of where I go, if I get a Manhattan, I always use Maker's Mark. And yeah, I know you say, well, Maker's Mark is a United States brand, and it doesn't have an E. So why doesn't it have an E if it's from the United States? Well, because the family who started Maker's Mark, they're not from here. They're from Scotland. Okay, so just so you know, that's why it's with a Y and not an E. So you can look that up for all of you disbelievers, but I prefer my Manhattan with a Maker's Mark. So with that said, let's go into what goes into this cocktail. So you have Maker's Mark. We're gonna make a Manhattan, and it's gonna contain that or a rye whiskey. It's gonna contain Vermouth. It's going to contain Angostura Bitters and a garnish of cherry, or in most cases, at most places, they put like a slice of the actual skin and the effervescence of the orange peel. I preferably just choose the cherry. I don't need the orange since the orange bitters is already in there, but that's just what we choose. And I'm actually going to use, instead of a rock glass, I like to use this glass, which actually looks like a martini glass, but you can actually use it to put other drinks in it as well. It holds 6 ounces worth of fluid. In addition to, I like the way it looks. So like I said, don't let anyone tell you what to drink, how to drink, and when to drink. So, all right. So we have everything that we need. We have Maker's Mark, we have the Vermouth, we have the bitters, we have the cherries, and the glass. However, If I had a rock glass, you know, like a square shaped glass, I would use my square cube. However, since this is a specially shaped glass, I chose to use my sphere cube. So it's a little round cube, you know, it's so cute. But what it does is it stops it from melting so quickly. It's just one big chunk of ice. Actually, the best ice for any drink is the clear ice. Those don't melt as quickly as the clouded ice. So just so you'll know, there is a difference between the type of ice that you do put in your drink. Just to know that the Manhattan is actually made in the glass. It is not shaken or anything. It is made in the glass and it is stirred. Okay, we will be using a jigger. Use this to extract the cherries. And then here is my spoon to stir. And if you notice, at the end of most spoons, they're usually different edges. I have another end that is a fork that you can use to use for garnishes. But this one right here is actually used when you're trying to create certain levels and layers of different type of oh my god, I just went blank. Basically, when you have different levels of liqueur and you want to make sure that it's spread evenly so it shows like a layer, this is the end that helps you do it. Okay, I'll put the correct information within the actual description so you know everything that was used to make this drink. But this end has nothing to do with this drink today, so this will be for another video. We'll probably do that when we get into a cocktail segment. But for right now, we'll just be using the spoon to stir. Okay, so with that stated, let's start off with 2 ounces of the rye whiskey, but in my case, I prefer bourbon whiskey. One ounce of sweet vermouth. I also have the dry vermouth for the martinis. It actually has a green label instead of a red. And like I said, always be mindful of how much space you have in your glass, especially when you're dealing with a sphere or a square. You need to make sure that you allow for space for the ice cube to accumulate in there. So for instance, this is only 3 ounces of liquor, 3 ounces of fluid, but as you can see, it's already filled up the 6-ounce glass because the ice takes up most of the space. So then we're gonna have 3 to 4 dashes of Angostura Orange Bitters. And what you want to do is stir it for about 40 seconds. And what you want to do that for is to make sure that it's chilled. Most bars, when they, and like I said, I am not a certified or licensed bartender. I enjoy spirits. I learn a lot. I watch. I practice, and there's just something that I just enjoy doing, so therefore I just learned to do it. So don't ask me any professional questions. I may have the answer, but I may not know all the answers. So, but if you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below. All right, we're about 30 seconds in. And 40 seconds is about a good time frame to sort of chill a drink. Whether you stir it, whether you shake it, whatever you do. But somewhere right up under a minute. Okay? Alright, now we're going to garnish it with a cherry instead of an orange peel. If it was an orange peel, I would have sliced off a piece of the skin, twisted it over it, put it around the rim of the glass, and then put the orange peel on the inside. But this is my cocktail, and I actually prefer cherries. So I decided to do the cherries. So we're not just going to make a regular Manhattan today. We're going to smoke this Manhattan, okay? So here I give you my smoker. And this is the little house that it's going to live in. So there are times you may see a bartender, they may smoke the glass, then put the drink in the glass, or they put the smoke in here. We're going to put the smoke in the box here. So with that stated, we're going to put the drink in the box. And then we're going to connect the smoker. Let me move this out the way so you can see the whole smoking process. Connect smoker, the tube to the smoker. And inside here, inside the top, you would normally put whatever flavor you want the smoke to bear. So it's a Manhattan, so I sort of like hickory and apple together. There are other flavors. Other flavors include peach, oak, cherry, pear, beach. Okay, so just so you know, I'm going for the flavor where I want to finish my cocktail. You can choose whatever you would like. I will leave information about this smoker as well as the box in my description box in case you're interested. So we're actually going to mix the hickory chips as well as the apple chips. Okay. Right. Mix those in. And what we do now is connect the actual tube in the box where the drink is. Okay. And I'm actually going to turn this around so when it's time to open the box, it'll already be done. So at this point, I light the chips and I turn the smoker on. And this was a gift to me by my besties, my friends. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't use the word friend very lightly. There's a certain criteria that I have for friends. Everyone else is just an associate, co-worker, acquaintance, things of that nature. But for friends, these are people who have pretty much covered every criteria that I require to go into the category of friends. So now I turn on the actual smoker, and I'm gonna continuously light the wood. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you'll see a little bit of the actual smoke. And I usually let that go for about a minute or two before it's time to take it out. I won't let it run for a minute or two, but I let it run while there's smoke in there. So now I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to let the drink sit in there for about 2 minutes. And while that is going on, is also for precaution, please make sure that before you put your smoker up, that you make sure that the actual chips, after you turn it off, are actually extinguished. Because what you don't want to do is to put this in the trash and start a fire. Okay? So make sure it comes actually with a little brush. It serves two purposes. One, there are little metal wire, little round envelopes that you sit in there to sit the wood on. So when you put the wood chips in, what it does is it just creates the smoke, but it doesn't, but the chips won't fall into the actual smoker. And then this here is also used to mix it, and then also to extinguish your actual wood chips. Okay, once you finish your wood chips, you put your little, I don't know what to call this little thing, I'll just say the little metal brush, but it serves multiple purposes. It's very small, so if you actually get one, please make sure that you read the instructions thoroughly and you understand what to do, because you don't want to set anything on fire. But in an instance here, as you can see, we will reveal the actual drinks. Okay? And my drink has been in there now for probably about 3 minutes. And I'm pretty sure it's going to, I don't want the fire alarm to go off. Have a very sensitive carbon dioxide and fire alarm. So don't want that to go off because it's extremely loud. It goes across the entire house, even through the garage. This is a smoked cocktail. This is the best cocktail. I don't know. Maybe some of you are looking at this thinking, it can't be all that great. Trust me. Yes, it is. I'm smelling and I'm tasting all kinds of aromas and different flavors here. So, with that stated, it's time for me to enjoy my cocktail. Until next week. See ya!